tricking Torin. The Fat Controller and Torin's manager arrived one morning to speak to him. Your work here has been exceptional, the stout gentleman began. However, your manager and I have begun to notice that your wagons here are less than ideal. The manager motioned to a set of wagons in a siding, their bodies writhed with ore dust, cracks and rust on practically everything. Your current stock was loaned from my main line back when Ballyhoo decided to refurbish the mine, the Fat Controller explained. They've been here forever, and I fancy it's time to ameliorate. The old ones leak too much dust, the manager added, so we've requested a new set of wagons to be delivered. James will be by with them later today. Good day to you. And they left. Torin was pleased. James, however, was not. He arrived at the mines, red in the face and steaming up a storm. Fresh, new trucks, he panted groanily. To you, from me. Whoa, what's happened to you? Asked Torin. These trucks. Never have I ever pulled such niggling, disruptive, and pestiferous things in my life. I'm exhausted. Wow. You really need to get out of the shed more often, Torin blinked. You just have to deal with them then, James seethed. I don't have to sit here and take this. Especially from an engine who does strictly mineral labor. Well, it looks like you're the one pulling mineral wagons right now. They're your trucks, James whooshed. And I'm serious too, Torin. These trucks are nothing to sneeze at. Torin looked. The trucks looked back, deviously. I'll keep it in mind, Torin considered. Appreciate it, James. James whistled and chuffed huffily away. Torin buffered up to the new wagons and began preparing them to be loaded. Looky what we have here, one cackled amidst the consist. Isn't it just a treat? A little kettle to work the mine. This is the engine we're promised. This? I've seen signal boxes with more presents. Speaking of treats, it looks as if you got lost in your way to the pastry cart, fella. Another sniggered. Marmalade flavor too by the looks of it. Let's hope you're more useful on those rails than you be on Ow! Torin biffed them sharply. Sorry about the shunt, Torin smirked, but that annoying laughter was starting to break my concentration. Careful now, this iron ore stuff, you know. He dares! You insolent little... Oh! Come on, Torin chuckled as he jolted the now loaded wagons away. The trucks muttered to themselves. They continued to whisper amongst themselves in the sidings. We won't allow this disrespect. He thinks he can shunt us around. We'll pay him out. The older trucks were shocked to hear this and were obstinate. You can't, one squealed. A isn't just any other engine, squeaked another. You can't push him around. Oh, shut up, the new wagons moaned. Spare us your warnings. We don't need washed-up relics defending us. The trucks soon began being difficult. Sometimes they let their doors slip, leaking ore along the line, leaving the workmen to go back and clean the rails. Other times, they got ore jammed, meaning Torin's crew often had to climb in the truck and free it themselves. For the men, it was a headache. However, surprisingly, the trucks had a headache of their own, as no matter what they did, nothing seemed to work on Torin. One time, Torin was shunting when one truck purposefully jammed its handbrake under the load. It giggled stupidly, but before the shunter could even try to kick the handbrake free, Torin reversed and bashed into the lot of trucks. The force was enough to knock the brake clean open, and the lot shuddered backwards. Ow! The truck sneered. Steady on! Scolded the shunter. Sorry, Torin conceded. I wouldn't have bumped them so hard if I'd known how weak the guy was. Another time, when they were heading back to the mine with an empty rake, they tried pushing him downhill. They heckled and thought their plan was working, only for it to stop suddenly when Torin braked the train to a crawl as they leveled. That was fun! He laughed innocently. But I didn't reach the station. Guess you guys aren't strong enough. The mineral wagons were furious. Murdoch, more than ever, was too. Aye, these new trucks are a lot worse than the old lot, he complained bitterly to Torin as he backed down onto his train. It wasn't often Murdoch complained, so Torin knew it was serious. I've no idea what's wrong with this new batch, but please, Torin, whatever sense you managed to knock into yours, do the same to mine, will ya? Torin, who was secretly growing a bit tired of the mischief himself, still didn't know what exactly he had done to make the old ones behave. So he did the only thing he could think of. I know what you're trying to do, he talked to them softly, and it won't work. The hoppers scoffed darkly. Take my advice and just start behaving. It'll make work so much easier. Please? The trucks, sensing Torin's gullibility, took advantage of it. Oh, of course, Torin. Why didn't you say so before? We've truly seen the error of our ways. Absolutely reformed and humbler wagons. That's the spirit. I knew you weren't horrible. So Torin, suspecting nothing, thanked the trucks and puffed happily away. Let him bask in his victory, they talked low and collectively. He's given us his trust, and it'll make so much more when we do crush his pride. All the more sweeter. That night, Torin had finished marshaling a train together for Murdoch. It was one of the few times where Torin couldn't take his own train to the big station. Usually this was when the shunting got too busy, or he was needed to help move the men's equipment. During times like this, Murdoch came to the mine himself to collect the train. As Torin shunted, the wagons were on their best behavior, and Torin felt quite pleased. Just give it time, the wagons murmured to themselves. Soon, Murdoch clattered up the way and into the mine. It's Murdoch, the trucks tittered, passing the word to the others. Hiya, Murdoch, Torin peeped. Aye, afternoon, the big engine replied. Oh, these are all for me. Yep, Torin smiled. Now, I must get back to helping the men. Bye! Murdoch whistled thank you, and after he turned around, he backed towards his train. He reversed quickly, maybe too quickly, as he bumped into the train a lot rougher than he intended to. Oh! Oops, he wheezed. What Murdoch didn't know was that the bump had inadvertently stuck two of the truck's buffers toward the end of the train. The sprung buffers no longer sprung, and the coupling slack between them was now absent. The trucks hadn't noticed. They were too busy scheming. Murdoch began to start off, but the trucks didn't let him. No, you don't. Hold back! Hold back! Oi! Oh, quit your playing, the lot of you! Murdoch, for as powerful as he was, still could only creep out of the mine and towards the mine's uphill, right before the descent. He had just started climbing when the truck shouted, "Now!" And cackling like hyenas, the truck surged, sending a horrible ricochet up the train. As the truck slammed into one ahead, that did the trick. The train's coupling snapped, splitting into two parts. one behind Murdoch and the other down the middle. The force was enough to jerk Murdoch's bogey wheels clean off, and they crunched the ballast. "Oh, for pity's sake," Murdoch called. The two parts of the train thundered back into the mine. The man at the point saw them coming and switched the points, but he was only quick enough to divert one half. The other clattered over the points, and ahead was Torin and the workmen. Torin felt the rails begin to shudder. He looked up and was shocked, whistling in alarm. The men scattered clear from the line side, and the wagons, still cackling madly, ran brutally into Torin. The crew were caught off balance as the heavy loaded train pushed them backwards. "You said you were going to be good!" Torin groaned as he applied his brakes. "Oh, did poor Torin think he tamed his truck with a few soft words?" The trucks leered devilishly. "No, we were just letting you hold the coupling for a while." "Passive words, he thought we'd roll right over, so we did! Pretty clever!" snickered another. "Pretty clever, pretty clever!" the contest echoed. Torin had enough. They weren't going fast, so picking up speed, Torin grew the gap between the trucks. Then, dropping sand, he locked his brakes firm, and with a resounding thump, the trucks ran into him, stopping instantly and springing back a little. The trucks were caught a bit off guard whilst Torin began to catch his breath. "What a surprise!" one truck spat aloud. "You're still on your wheels!" "Wish the same could be said for your other orange friend." "Well, actually, I don't." The trucks guffawed. "So, it was all an act, eh? Honestly, I really didn't think you'd trick me like that." Torin chuckled tiredly. "I guess I gave you too much credit. Really fell for it." Torin's eyes narrowed, and he looked at the lead wagon. The trucks felt uneasy as Torin puffed up, steam flowing up and all around him. With the aura of his firebox and the moon illuminating, it gave an almost golden glow. "I gave you a chance. Trusted you." Torin spoke as gently as he did earlier that day, which only made the trucks feel a bit more uneasy. "And you turned it around and dragged Murdoch into your games. Derailed him, endangered the men, just for a laugh? That's not clever. That's just cruel!" And without any warning, Torin shoved them vigorously. The trucks were startled and darted back, far and quickly. Then it happened. The wagons rattled back into the sidings. The first half smashed into the other, which carried on rolling. It hit the buffers at the end of the siding with an almighty crash. The pressure surged and the two wagons jammed buffers like a thunderclap, and with a deafening crack, the buffers and tight chains warped and crumpled into pieces. The two ends of the trucks now faced the moon. Ore dust fluttered everywhere. The new and even the old trucks were shaken. Through the cloud of dust, Torin slowly pulled alongside the nervous wagons, who were now too scared to utter a single stutter. Torin sighed. Fact of the matter is, this kind of stuff is what happens when you believe nobody can bring you down. He told them, uncharacteristically blunt. The mine was silent. Torin sighed and surveyed the mess. "I apologize for the force. I truly didn't mean to derail you. But I hope you've learned your lesson and won't hurt anyone, play tricks like this again, and just be good." And not just because you're afraid of what might happen if you don't, he added quietly.
Yes, Torin. We understand, Torin.
That's good then, Torin said, snapping back to a smile.
Now, let's get all this sorted.
It wasn't long until Murdoch and the trucks had been righted. The broken wagons were taken off the train and replaced. Torin's crew told him off too, for nearly knocking them into seeing stars. Torin spoke to Murdoch after he was put back onto the rails.
Ooh, they almost defeated the mighty Murdoch,
Torin joked.
I get out,
Murdoch laughed.
but you know,
He muttered thoughtfully.
when I said knock some sense into my trucks, I didn't mean literally.
Sorry about that, Torin chuckled bashfully. Suppose even I forget my own strength.
Strength had less to do with whatever that was.
Murdoch chuckled, glancing back at his now silent train.
Whatever you did, it certainly worked. I mean, just listen to how quiet they are.
He gave a small smile.
Truly something, super.
And Murdoch whistled away. It was very quick that the Fat Controller and the manager found out about the incidents. First, they reprimanded Torin for his negligence, making a point of the mine's new wagons, now practically as damaged as the old ones. Then they told off the new wagons, who solemnly swore that they'd already well learned their lesson. And it went without saying that ever since that day, Torin has continued to never have any sort of problems with his trucks.